Spending lots of time searching outside of yourself to find happiness, joy, health, and wealth? With each new acquired good or goal reached, are you once again jumping on the gerbil wheel, searching for that next thing to make you happy? The answers we are searching for are actually inside of us, and the connection we are looking for is one with self. Explore these and other self-reflective questions here on Finding the Spark Within. Hosted by Christin Collins, discover how you can connect with your purpose and achieve true happiness, meaning, and well-being. Don't miss tuning in and find the spark within.
Hi, it's Christin Collins welcoming you to another episode of the podcast, Find the Spark Within. And this episode is going to be one where we're going to go a little bit deeper than I've gone so far because Dr. Ken Harris has come into my life with Synchronicity and helps me every time I connect with him to learn more about the mind-body connection and our interconnectivity and spirituality. So Ken, I am so excited that you are here today. Thank you so much for taking the time to connect.
Thank you, Christin. I'm honored and humbled to be in your audience and have an opportunity to share some of my experience.
And experience you have. And you came into my life serendipitously through Josh and Jennifer. And what a gift when I was given a copy of your book, which we are going to get to, because I think it's a great tool for folks. But I would just love for us to start our conversation by you expressing a moment in time or one of your big ahas that shifted you and opened you up to understanding that there's a realm past the five senses and what we're experiencing here on this planet?
Wow, that's a great question, Christin. There's been multiple times of awakening, you might say, of piercing through the veil of consciousness and becoming aware that there's more than meets the eye. There's a big show going on, invisible, around us and through us. As Shakespeare said, there's more to heaven and earth, Horatio, than any of us can ever totally comprehend. I had in my own journey, quite a few pivot points, you might say. But the major pivot point for me, Christin, was back in chiropractic college. I had the honor of being the professor for 1 year. I was a valedictorian, so they gave me this gift of coming back and teaching. And I was on the campus, and I saw a sign that said this gentleman was coming to the campus today, off campus, not officially invited, to give a lecture. His name was Dr. William Behan. And I had heard of Dr. Bain's notoriety prior through another chiropractor at a lecture. And I said, well, let me go out of curiosity. I want to see what the real deal is here. So I went into this classroom and I sat in the back. In case I didn't like it, I could quickly get out.
That's why I love you.
Just in case. And when Dr. Bain started to speak, I had finally found someone who embodied everything I had been looking for my entire life, but I didn't know it. So I saw a mirror image of myself. I didn't know I was projecting. I didn't know it was a mirror of me. When he started to speak, and I'll never forget his words. He said, we didn't come on earth to condemn anyone or anything. We came that they may have life and they may have life more abundantly. But this was not a religious retort he was given. This was his experience as an intuitive healer. And he had the largest chiropractic service. He didn't call it a practice in the entire planet. He saw over 3,000 people a week at his clinic in Derry, New Hampshire, which is a little town up in the southeast corner of New Hampshire. And the thing that really impressed me more than anything, he didn't have a fee structure. He let people make a donation according to their means. And people came by the busloads. And I went up to that clinic. I got so motivated. First of all, I sat in the room and I started to cry. And I came home and told my beautiful wife, I said, Judy, I just met a man today that I've been looking for my whole life. And so I traveled up to New Hampshire and I subsequently studied with him for a period of 10 years. I mentored with him. And he was an intuitive healer. He had the ability to bring that which is invisible into the visible world. And he had miraculous healings happen in his clinic. So that was one of the opening points for me that took me beyond just the physical. All he did, by the way, was adjust one vertebra as a chiropractor. He only adjusted the atlas vertebra, the first one, but the results were phenomenal. And so that was one of my awakenings, that I learned that you do less, you get more results.
I love that. That is so
Yeah.
true, right? And also to the offering of exchange of energy with you pay what you can, right? And that's a whole nother, we could do a whole nother podcast on that. So your chiropractic practice, which is why you're a doctor. And also I forgot to mention, because I was so excited to dive into conversation with you, you are an educator, you are a global keynote speaker, you are an author, which folks already know because I'm already bragging about your awesome book. So one of the things, just as background for folks of who is Dr. Ken Harris and why is he helping us find that spark within? So one of the things that you mentioned, and I think this is really, really important, is that you didn't even know you were looking for him. And that's exactly, as you know, I had my health issues, which forced me to realize I was looking for something else. I marvel at people who don't have this key, I don't know, bomb go off in their life to alter their crevice, their rut in their mindset and how they're living their life. So take me back into that moment when you realized I had no idea I was looking for this guy and here he is. How do we help others find that spark within them?
I would say it's a resonance between you and that which you're viewing. You it's not a thought, it's not intellectual, it's emotional. I mean, I literally, to the point where I was brought to tears, realizing, oh my God, there it is. I like you said, I didn't go consciously looking for it at that day, at that time, but I have been a seeker myself. I mean, I was asking the questions from once I was a little boy. I remember sitting up late at night at the campfire by myself, by the way, and looking up at the stars and realizing this is a big show going on. How did all this come into being this? So I was asking the questions, honestly, a long time ago as an adolescent, what's the purpose of life? How did it all come into being? What are we supposed to be doing here? It's not what Billy Joel said, a house and a car and hack and sack, 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 sack in the song. I knew it was more than just material acquisition. So I knew there was a purpose and a reason for being this, but I didn't know what it was. And I would just say it's not the same for every person. Each person will have to figure out for him or herself what their contribution is to the tapestry of life. We're all here for a reason, but not the same reason.
Amen. Absolutely love that. And emotion, and the other word that came up for me is energy. Whether it's a split nanosecond that you're connecting with someone else's energy, or it's a lifetime or anywhere in between, just that inner knowing of like, this maybe makes absolutely no sense. I don't know where this is coming from, but my whole essence and being is lit up right now because I'm in connection, which, by the way, was very much how I felt when I met you. Right? I mean, you immediately, you were referred by very good people who I love. Really, when I met you and energetically met you, I knew right away. I was like, oh, he is a soul brother. He is a partner. It's our time to come together. We don't get to connect very often, but when we do, I have about 900 takeaways, and just energetically, you lift me. So help me understand, is it through your chiropractic work? It's probably through a lot of things. How are you living this lifetime to support the rise of the awakening?
Well, I think my role, I've retired from active practice, chiropractic practice. I had a mind-body wellness center for 45 years. We empowered people by teaching them about meditation, yoga, all kinds of transformational classes. But my role now in my, quote, extra innings of my life, and we'll talk about that maybe later, is to shine the light so people can see their next step on their path. I'm not here to tell anybody what their path is, but I am here to maybe elucidate where they can see what their next step might be. And I would just say this, a minute or a second in the soul will last you a lifetime. I mean, I could close my eyes and remember when Bill stood in front of me and what he said. Verbatim. So it's not a question of how long you're out with someone. When you know that you know that you know that you know, you know. And usually your body will let you know. Your body will let you know by being an expansion of energy. The field will increase. It'll expand. And that's my guiding principle when I have to make a decision. Is this making me more enlivened, more open, or is it shutting me down? If I make a decision based in fear, it always shuts you down. So never make it, I will tell you this, never make a decision based in fear.
Yeah. And so how do we get in touch with that energy and that intuition and that emotion, right? And as we both know, there's a couple brains. We've got this brain, we've got the heart brain, and we've got the gut brain. And the way that society is built, our culture is built with this materialism and consumption and distraction, right? It's hard when we're manifesting from the mind versus from the heart and the gut. So take us through that a little bit. How can we get in touch with those energetic emotions so that we know this is the direction, this is our purpose?
Well, my recommendation, everybody listening to this, is to learn some form of meditation training. I'm not telling you which one, because there's many of them out there, but start to learn to listen more to what your body, and your body will never lie, by the way. You know, your head can talk you in and out of anything. Your emotions can talk you in and out of anything. But the beautiful thing about the body, the interface, is the body doesn't lie. And your body, you got to learn to tap in and ask your body how you're feeling. It's the feeling realm which connects you to the soul. It's not your head. It's not your head, and it's not your emotions. It's the feeling.
And so, especially in the past almost 2 years now, with all of the uncertainty, and you and I both know there's always uncertainty. We just thought we were more in control than we actually were. And this experience, this global pandemic, has been one to create fear everywhere, with uncertainty that, again, was always here. So take us through how we accept that we're fearful, or become aware that we're fearful, and then choose to shift our mindset out of the fear-based and do it from a place of actualization. What are tools that people can use?
Well, sometimes fear could be your friend.
Okay.
I won't say all fear is bad. There's times if you're walking across the highway and you hear a loud noise, you turn around, you get frightened, you're going to get out of the way of a moving truck. But for the most part, we're in sympathetic dominance. You know, we're overloaded with fear. Everything is fear-based. I mean, I hate to say this, but the healing arts, for the most part, particularly the medical field, tries to control people through fear. You got to get this test. You got to get that test. You got to do this thing. And so that's all day long. People are being fed a lot of fear, a diet full of fear. So one thing I would recommend people do is disconnect from social media. Get it, minimize it. Certainly TV. Mainstream media is not in our best interest right now. It's not telling us the truth. There's lots of hidden agendas on both sides of the political spectrum. I'm not taking one side over the other. They're both, if you want to know when a politician's lying, usually when they open their mouth. Just remember that. And so I am not affiliated with any political system, but I would say disconnect from the outside in approach and start becoming more inner directed. And the only way I know how to do that is through meditation. It's a practice, just like anything else. You become more attuned to what's really going on at the deeper levels of consciousness, because the five senses are just do, re, mi, fa, so. You know, it's very, very basic, but there's so much more of us that's invisible than is visible. You know, there's infrared and ultraviolet, the spectrum. So we need to learn to turn that third eye, you know, the pineal gland, in and up, and then you're going to be directed from a source that will never harm you. Your soul will never tell you to do something out of fear or that's going to be detrimental to you.
I love that.
I would say it's soul time. We're in the time of soul time, and get off the TV time.
And I thank you for that. And what's so interesting is that introspection, taking the time, and we'll call it meditation for this conversation. And there's, as I hope everyone knows, there's so many different forms of meditation, right? And if we don't know that, go ahead and write a comment and we will gladly walk you through options because there are many. I used to not think that. That's why I'm kind of making that a big thing, because I thought you had to sit and just be still and know there's a lot of other ways you can look inward. So when we start looking inward, right? And then like you said, it's a practice. It's not overnight. I'm going to look inward and now all of a sudden everything's from that inner place. We all know that. Talk to me a little bit about the projection piece, right? And the fear piece. And then how do we understand what is mine to own, or maybe what is I'm projecting on the situation out of fear or ignorance or whatever we want to call it. And then how do I shift to let go of trying to dictate the lives of others and get back to just focusing on self?
Well, the underlying principle of projection is you get triggered either way, either positive or negative. And anytime it's the shadow piece coming up that you're projecting onto the screen. So the number one thing I ask myself if I get excited or if I get upset, okay, Ken, if I get upset, here's what I ask myself. Okay, Ken, so what are you seeing in Christin that you have not learned to love in you? It has nothing to do with Christin. She's not the cause of why I'm having this emotional reaction. And so the good news and the bad news is on the other side of that, if I see something I admire in you, which is what happened to me with my mentor, Bill, I admired him. And he told me very clearly, he says, listen, what you're seeing in me is not about me, Ken, it's about you. And we need people not to adulate one another, not to follow in a guru pattern, but we need to stand side by side and serve together. And I love that because, so many people will get hooked into cults because they project all that to the teacher. So here's the bottom line. If you love it or you hate it, it's you. Just realize that it's not about other, because at the quantum level of consciousness, here's the big news. There ain't no other. You're me in another body having a different expression of myself. That's how I see everybody. So there are no strangers in my world. I meet so-called strangers. I just said, oh, there's a friend I haven't met yet, consciously. But subconsciously, we're having a conversation and we're talking all the time to each other. On the front of my book, I put this symbol, the flower of life. The flower of life is a geometric, sacred geometric figure. And it really means that everything in the universe is interconnected. So we're all talking and having a conversation subconsciously with the whole of humanity. And so if one person has a victory in one aspect of overcoming a habit or an addiction, that sends into the field, you can too. It's a cheering call. And so the 4-minute mile, one guy did it, now everybody's doing it. People are getting better from illnesses they're not supposed to be getting better from. They're told they're incurable. No, people are breaking through that wall and they're opening the door for the rest of us to follow through. So we're all in this together, folks. There's no one, this idea of separation is an optical illusion, as Einstein said, but it's a very convincing one because our senses will tell you you're over there and I'm over here, but it's a delusion.
Oh, gosh, that is so powerful, Ken. So what's interesting about my journey is that I was really, really into helping others, right? And supporting others. And I was absolutely horrible at self-care and self-love. And since we are all interconnected, I was robbing the energetic field or the universe, right? I wasn't doing my part because I was so busy thinking I needed to take care of others, by the way, robbing them of their opportunity. It doesn't mean we don't help one another, but when all of the energy is going out and zero is coming in or coming from within, I'm not carrying my own weight. So I would love for you to take us into a little bit about caring. If we were a culture or an energetic field that we all were comfortable in our own skin and loved ourselves, and then we showed up, what a beautiful community. But instead, because we are not whole, we are not comfortable, we are distracted, we haven't done the healing, whatever, then we show up not whole, and then we're seeking outside of ourselves. Walk me through that a little bit from your lens.
Like you, I was a people pleaser. I always wanted to help other people, and I never wanted to help myself. But the underlying deficit in myself was somewhere along my pathway. Mother, father, teacher, preacher, culture, I got the message that I wasn't good enough. That was the prime wound. And so not feeling worthy myself of receiving love, I was looking to give it to everybody else. And I had a great challenge accepting love back. I mean, there was a lot of shame in me when people would tell me how much they appreciated and loved me. I'd put my head down and I'd say to myself, yeah, but they don't know all the bad things I did or all the bad thoughts I had. So there's a lot of shame involved that we carry. And those of us like the people pleasers, the underlying deficit of personality is we don't feel worthy. There's part of us that just has never felt worthy to receive the love. But you can never really be a true servant to another person until you love yourself. It's taken me my entire life to get to that site. I would say I've gone in one lifetime, one incarnation, a place of self-hatred, almost to the point where I tried to commit suicide, to a point of self-love. I'm in a sweet spot now. When people tell me they love me now, you know what I say, Christin? Yeah, thank you, but not as much as I love me. And I don't mean that narcissistically. And so I start my morning off, honest to God, every morning for the last maybe 6 or 8 months. I look in the mirror, I take care of my hygiene. I look in the mirror and I say, good morning, Kenny. Do you know you're a magnificent being? And I love you. And I hug myself. Because I was always looking to get that from somebody else. No, you got to give it to yourself. You got to learn to give that to you and embody it and really know it, that you are. That's the soul talking to the mask, the persona. Good morning, Kenny, my soul. I love you and you're a magnificent being. And I don't have to do anything more than that. I don't have to accomplish anything. I don't have to prove anything. I don't have to achieve anything. It's all good. And so it's a process. It hasn't been an easy journey for me. When people tell me, Christin, they had a dark night of the soul, I almost laugh. I say, only one night?
How'd you get away with only one?
That's why I don't say that to them. I say, I had decades of a dark night coming in and out. So I can relate. I understand that. But until you can get to that place and space, really, and I mean, look in your eyes when you say that in the mirror and mean it. And it sets a tone for your day that you can handle anything that comes along.
If folks that are drawn to this conversation take one thing away, I hope it's that. I do know that my journey to actually being able to look in my own eyes in a mirror was very, very long. And there was a lot of shame. And it's taken a really long time to release and heal. It is not an overnight fix, unfortunately. But the awareness of the direction to head is like the greatest trajectory and leap. And then it starts to get a little bit easier. So thank you for being so vulnerable and authentic to share your path, because that does help fuel others.
We're all in this together, and no one gets to where they are without eddy currents, up and down, a step forward, 2 steps back. It's a journey, folks. Be patient. Patience is the first step. Be kind to yourself. If you want to extend that to another person, start with self.
Oh, yeah. Yes. There's going to be like 900 quotes that come out of this. I was trying to write them down. I'm like, forget it. I'm just going to re-listen because you're juicy. So I would love to dive into, from that place of awareness, from the present moment. Synchronicities are happening all around us all the time, right? We're being guided. We're being shown the path, but we're so busy not being here now. We miss most of them, right? Your book was so fun because you just showcase, a ton of synchronicities, and I'm not perfect at it, but there are plenty of moments where I'm just like, I can't even believe that just happened. That is so cool. From when the phone rings, when somebody I haven't talked to in 3 years suddenly calls me, I'm like, how did you even find me? All the way to just like the right person shows up physically in front of me, whatever. Walk me through a little bit of your journey to highlight synchronicity and what your point in writing the book was as an author.
Well, the reason I wrote the book was to remind people that they're having, on a daily basis, synchronicities. Most people, like you say, are totally unconscious. The signs and symbols are everywhere. But the reason I wrote the book was they kept happening to me personally. I kept having prearranged synchronicities by the spirit world of meeting the right people at the right time at the right place without any manipulation on my part. And I felt like I was being graced. And I said, okay, guys, I'll write the book. Because originally I said, well, it's my stories. Who cares about meeting this one or that? It's a big deal. No, it's to remind people that the primary reason for writing this book is to give people an understanding. You're not walking on this planet by yourself. You have angels, guides, whatever you want to call higher realms. We are part of a community of beingness. And when people die, that's not the end of your life or their life or your relationship with those people. I have guides that, you get it through intuition. You would call it intuition. You get a gut feeling. I actually have heard voices. Now, I'm not schizophrenic, but I have heard audible voices of telling me where and what to do and when. So what more could I ask for? So I just wake up every day knowing that every single day of my life, there's going to be someone I'm going to meet for a specific reason. Now, I believe we're all students and teachers to each other. Sometimes I'm the teacher to the student, and sometimes the student's the teacher to me. So just stay open, from the guy who pumps your gas to the person at the supermarket. I always talk to those people, by the way. I say, oh, God's talking through them to me. Pay attention. Don't judge anybody. Don't judge them by what they look like or how they sound like. Just be open, because I believe we're all having this conversation subconsciously all the time. And so it's nice to know that we're not flotsam and jetsam being pushed from pillar to post here. And nothing, the last sentence in my book is, at the end of your life, when you connect the dots, you'll come to finally realize it was never random. Mm. That's the message I want people to realize. You're not alone. You're being guided. There's help. There's help along the way. And just to stay open. Stay open. Nothing's fixed. Stay fluid. Life is like a river. It's fluid. It moves. And we need to jump into the river and surrender and trust life. Trust life. It's intelligent. Nothing happens haphazardly. Last month, my wife fell. She broke a shoulder. What gifts have come out of this? I mean, originally I said, oh boy, I didn't panic. I did what I had to do. We got into the hospital. We did everything. But what a beautiful gift we were given, even though at the moment you could say, oh, this is a bad thing. No. There's been some spiritual gifts that we discovered after 52 years, levels of intimacy we never had before. After 52 years, you think we know everything about each other. No. We're still growing. So don't judge, accept what is and act accordingly. Mm. And you'll be guided. I was guided. I knew exactly what to do, how to do it. I mean, I never, met that circumstance before in my life, coming and finding her on the floor crying like that. I didn't know what happened in the moment. She was bleeding. I mean, it was when the cops showed up, by the way, they looked at each other. And, she had broke her left shoulder, but her right side of her head was all bruised. And I said to them straight out, I said, hey, guys, just want you to know we're married 52 years. We're happily married. This is not a domestic dispute call. Because they were looking like, how did she get this and this at the same? Sure. We still haven't figured out how that happened. I have no idea how she fell and why. But anyway, just stay open. You're being guided. Trust and surrender and allow. Those would be some of my advice, if you will.
Some of your takeaways, which are super helpful. And before we conclude here, because I want to try to be cognizant of time, folks, if you are interested in learning from Dr. Ken Harris, which I have been learning now for well over a year and a half, and I enjoy his snippets. I often highlight his words in my weekly email that I send out to folks just to offer tools and tips. So you're welcome to go on my website and sign up for my e-newsletter and get more information on Ken. I'd also highly suggest you log on to Ken's email. Ken, how often do you send out that email? Is it every other week or is it monthly?
No, I only do a newsletter. It's not an email. Well, it's an email. It's MailChimp once a month. Okay. And you can register for that on my website, which is simple. You'll probably have it in the credits. Dr. DOCTOR KenHarris.com. Yeah. And if you do that, you get a 5-page printout, a PDF file of the 7 types of synchronicities, the 6 reasons we meet each other, the 5 questions you ask, like, why is this happening, for interpretation. And then there are 4 practices you can do to create synchronicities. Some of them are given to us, and some of them you can, through neuroscience, actually manifest.
And you give that complimentary if you just sign up for your monthly e-newsletter. I wasn't sure of the cadence of your e-newsletter. I read everyone. I love sitting. I'm very intentional when I read it. I want to make sure I'm not rushed and I'm really, ingesting. I giggle at how attuned we are. And, you're always usually just like a couple weeks ahead of me. And I'm like, yes, what Ken said. Yes, what Ken said. So folks, I really advise this. I did download the PDF on synchronicities back before I read the full book, and what a gift that you're offering. So thank you for that.
Well, the more people who wake up, the better it's going to be for all of us. I mean, I'm selfish. It behooves me to help you wake up, because you're being another body. And if we want to create heaven on earth, we'll all come and give our gifts to each other. There'll be collaboration, not competition. So in one sense, we're here to tandem climb up and down the mountain together. We help each other.
It's beautiful. It's so true. So that's how I want to land this plane today with you. Is you spend a lot of time in this space. You are a seeker, as you mentioned. You're very open. You put yourself out there for new information. We've, as an entire, probably galaxy, but definitely here on Earth, have gone through just this major shift, and the shift's far from over. And you are one of the few people that I can listen to and still comprehend to kind of find a little bit of comfort or solace or awareness about kind of where we are and where are things going from a broader level, not like, global warming, or not of the literal sense. What's the economy do? Like, I would love to hear from you in closing, kind of where we are, why we are, and what are we possibly going to be experiencing.
So I would say we're like the butterfly. We're the caterpillar who's gone into the chrysalis. And in that chrysalis, we become mush. We're in a mush state right now. We're in a reformation. We're in a reforming. There's imaginal cells in that mush. It's going to come out as a beautiful butterfly. I believe this pandemic is not a curse. Personally, I think it's the divine's way of waking us up, to reminding us, we have not been our brother's keeper. We haven't been really caring for each other the way we should be. The planet has not been working for the majority of people on this planet. We in the Western world, we were insulated, but this pandemic, it went across borders, in a matter of weeks. There's no keeping it out. There's no walls to this pandemic. And so the deck is getting reshuffled. That's how I see it. And I'm an optimist. I'm not a doomsdayer. I think out of this chaos will come some order. Eventually, you got to take the long view. When I say the long view, it could take a generation before we're never going back, by the way. I don't want to go back to what was. When those food lines came out and we saw those people standing on line, I started to cry, realizing these are the invisible people. They've been hungry all along, but we didn't know about it, or weren't aware of it. So I think the pandemic is going to reshuffle the economies of the world. It's going to create a new understanding that what I do to the least of them, I do to myself. And it's time for us to reach across the borders. Personally, I'm not one of these people. I don't want to build more walls. I want to build bridges. And this pandemic is waking us up to that. It's all of us or none of us. If any remain bound, none will ever get free. So let's start realizing that, we're here as a collaboration, not as a competition. So I'm optimistic. I know that in the long view, things will be fine. Life can be trusted. Life is intelligent. And we just have to be patient and let it play out. It's going to play out. There's going to be a lot of changes, and embrace change. That's another thing. Embrace uncertainty and change. That's where the juice of life is, by the way. Oh, if you want to keep things as they are, rigid, you're going to get arthritis.
Exactly. Good luck with that, right? Good luck with that, because the only guarantee is change, and to be in flow instead of working so hard against flow to maintain some semblance of what you think is control. That has been my biggest lesson in the past 5 years. And you've been a part of helping me learn that. So Dr. Ken, I can't thank you enough for today, for your friendship, for your mentorship, for you putting yourself out there in a non-judgmental, loving way, always offering if you could be of service. And today you were of service to me, and I hope to a lot of others.
Well, as always, Christin, having a conversation with you is always delightful. I always find it enlivening and uplifting. And I just want to acknowledge, if anyone hasn't read her book, Phoenix Rising, I highly, highly recommend it. I was fortunate. I read it when it was in manuscript form. And I was just like, whoa, wow. The authenticity and the courage that she had to display in writing this book is admirable. So you've freed a lot of other people up by your being who you are and being, I would say, transparent. I mean, at great personal risk, by the way, professional and social. So, kudos to you. I highly, highly recommend. This is an example of courage and Phoenix Rising. She went down and now she's back up. So thank you, Christin.
I allowed myself to keep my heart open and receive that. And I am now freezing and sweating to death at the same time. So thank you for that. I still, like all of us, don't know the direction, don't have clarity. And I just every day wake up and I say, okay, use me as a conduit, so I can be me and live my life's purpose as it divulges itself. But most importantly, just to show up and not alter based on other people. So if we can fuel others to be able to do the same, imagine we will have heaven on earth, right?
Well, you did that. By being authentic, you gave people permission to be authentic. I mean, that was the takeaway from your book, that this was a courageous woman. That's how I saw you. And I thank you. I mean, I loved your book. Folks, she's a better writer than I am. A lot better. She's really good. And it's very conversational. I mean, you feel like I felt like I was walking alongside you, because you reveal your inner thoughts. She'll say one thing and then she'll tell you what she was thinking. It's beautiful. So kudos to you for writing that beautiful book.
Thank you. I will receive that with much appreciation and love. Come back to Florida soon. Give hugs to Judy. And as always, thank you so much for just being a beautiful, bright light.
Thank you for having me. And anytime in the future, just call me up. I'm always available.
Let's do it again. Until next time. Namaste. Thank you, Ken.
Bye.
You have just listened to another episode of Finding the Spark Within with Christin Collins. If you found our content valuable, visit us at christincollins.com/podcast, where you can find more episodes and amazing content. Connect with your purpose and discover ultimate joy. Join us again next time here on Finding the Spark Within.